If you boil the pact down to one rule, it's do not say you want to go outside.
Welcome back to the Ruby Tuesday. My name is Ruben and this is my review for Silo, an Apple TV series original based on a trilogy of well-loved books. I've read the first book, I've listened to the audio of the second and third, and I was really nervous about going into watching this because I like the original content. But as a reviewer, you kind of have to push that aside and go, okay, let's see what they've given us here. Could this be good? Let's talk about it. Men and women live in a giant silo underground with several regulations which they believe are in place to protect them from the toxic and ruined world on the surface. When I started watching these 10 episodes, my wife wouldn't let me watch them by myself. I wanted to review all 10 and get out the review sooner, but she so loved the books like I did that we wanted to watch it together, and that was quite an experience. So I do recommend watching it with your partner if you have one. For those that love the books, I think you're going to be impressed with what they've done here. But I also think you can't hold it too tightly in your hand. When it comes to adaptations of books, example, Lord of the Rings, that is an anomaly that was done really well. But often they take bits that will work for a TV series but leave bits out. Even Harry Potter has massive chunks that aren't in the movies but are still in the books. So you got to take it with a pinch of salt and going, okay, hopefully what I loved is in here, and some of what my mind has seen as creations of these characters that I love, the world that is loved, we will get some of that. And for me, I think for my wife as well, that is the case. There are some character creations that I just don't think they created the same way, or in my mind's eye, aren't the same sort of characters. Rebecca Ferguson, who is our main protagonist, well, one of them, she plays Juliette, and she's from the down deep and ends up in a role up top, basically is leading us through investigations of murder and the mystery about why people live in the silo. Nobody knows what's gone on before because they are basically a world within a world. This silo has 10,000 people and has housed generations of people. They've been living here for many years. That is part of the mystery that you get to go on, as some on the fringe go against the law of trying to find out what happened before. And so as they go on this investigation, you are on that journey with them, which makes it a sort of who's done it, but on a wider scale. And then we have the cultures and civilizations that are all part of that, the history of the silo, the set design, all of that is incredible. But you can't talk about a review, well, I certainly can't, and talk about some of the cast that we have. It's an amazing ensemble cast. I mentioned Rebecca Ferguson. She's normally out doing those AAA films like Dune, and I think she's a fantastic actress. I do have one little worry that she might be too high a profile to do the second and third season, and I presume we're going to get them because Apple are pretty good at kind of putting life in to their series, let it breathe, unlike some other series where they normally would be cancelled if they were on, let's say, Netflix or HBO. They may not get that second season. Here, I've got some faith that we will see a second season. How long we have to wait for that? That's another story, because this isn't the complete story. There is a complete sort of arc, but there's so much left unanswered. I think for the most part, if you're new to this, you will understand the world that they're creating within the first few episodes. It's drama. It's not action heavy. There is some action, but it's more about the characters that you get to know and love along the way. And that comes down to some of the acting, the characters like Tim Robbins. I haven't seen him act for a while. I'm so glad he is in this. He plays Bernard, and I love him. There's an air, an atmosphere around him, around his character. Is very intriguing, very different, kind of nerdy, geeky, but there's more going on there. Whenever you see him on screen with Rebecca, there's a nice little back and forth. David Oleo, who plays Sheriff Holston, there's a nice background story, or like a going back in the past, that brings a lot of understanding to the forefront of what you need to know as a viewer. So when we get a bit of his story and we go back towards what has happened to him, how he got to where he is in his life, that is helping to bring us up to the present in this storyline, their present. And I think that's a clever way to do it. We do get some background stories as to what's happened with Rebecca as well, kind of remembering the past. You know, it's a classic kind of telling a story. How do we tell the past? We show it. Thankfully, they do it in a way that it keeps it interesting and doesn't make you go, man, I just want to know what's going on in the main arc. No, when you go back to the past, you're like, oh, that really helps you understand what is happening now in the present. And that works well as telling this drama. Unfortunately, it is week on week. I think Apple's released the first two episodes now, and then you have to wait a week on week. Now, I watched this over a few days very quickly, and I found myself being really drawn into the characters. But I do wonder, because I have that previous knowledge of what's coming, whether that's part of the excitement of me wanting to keep watching because I know what's coming. Does that make sense? There are big moments, climatic moments that I want to see how that is represented on screen. Now, if you're a viewer that hasn't read the books, and I presume a lot of people haven't, then you're going to be like, why do I need to keep watching this? Is it as intriguing for you as it is for me? I don't know. Do let me know in the comments down below. But for me, I think the acting is phenomenal. There's some really great emotional moments between daughter and father. Some really great screen monologues that you're just like there emotionally. You understand the background because of those flashbacks. So when stuff happens to our characters, you are on board. You have, I guess you can call them bad guys. It's very easy to see them as the bad guys. They are not the police force. They are these guys that have a law unto themselves. There are different factions of different control, and everybody feels in the silo that they have the best job. The mechanics think they keep the silo running. The tech guys feel like they keep the silo running. The growers feel like they keep the silo running. And so you have these different people of importance. But as you get a peek behind the curtain, you see what's really going on and who really are the people in control. And so when you have this other security force going around dressed in black, it can very remind you of sort of, I know everybody likes to use it, but it really did remind me of like the Nazis. You'll understand it when you see it. Things that you're allowed to do, things that you aren't allowed to do, very controlled, a sort of dictatorship in the hiding. Very controlled as to what you can do for the protection, because if we don't hold you a certain way, then everything could collapse. If one person goes outside, it's one of the main laws that you have. You can probably deal with everything else, but if you say I want to go outside, then you're in trouble. So all in all, I think the ensemble cast that we get have given great acting. With the dialogue they've been given, the adaptation seems to be done with a lot of heart and skill that I was drawn into every single episode. The acting is fantastic. I do hope that we're not going to have to wait years and years for a second season. Let me know your thoughts and feelings once you've started watching it. Are you a fan of the books? What do you think about the world they've created? I think the world looks fantastic, aesthetically pleasing, exactly like you'd expect it to be. It's not another apocalyptic teen series or movies. It's a more adult nature drama that incorporates all the themes that you would get in there about life. How do you do life but in a silo? And that feels like a realized real world that we get to see people do their day-to-day lives in amongst a sort of control system. Yeah, I think it's great. 4.5 Nicolas Cages out of 5.
And you got one. Congratulations.
Thanks so much for watching, but most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.